How'd you end up? How'd you start working with him? How did that come about?
Well, Jay, as you know, was signed to Def Jam Records.
Yeah.
And, I was given the responsibility of marketing Def Jam and all of its artists to the global marketplace. So that's how I got to know him. I was completely intrigued, fascinated by not only him as an artist, but really as a person.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the greatest gentlemen I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
And I think one of the greatest artists I've ever met in my life, and one of the greatest businessmen I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are strong words.
That's
right
cheers
there.
to Hove.
Yeah, cheers to Hove. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Lobster and Beer. I'm your host, Brian Thompson. Today's guest is a decorated entrepreneur, branding guru, and music mogul with over 25 years of experience in the entertainment industry. He has held leadership positions at Island Records, Palm Pictures, Live Nation, Parkwood Entertainment, Def Jam Recordings, and Universal Music Group. He played an integral role in breaking artists such as Alessia Cara and Logic, one of my favorites, and even managed the pop icon Beyonce. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to us live from New York with a lobster and a root beer, Faisel Durrani!
Jeez, that was good, guys. I got to take you on the road with me.
I'm down, man. I'd love it. As long as we don't play too much golf against each other, I think we won't be fighting on the road.
There you go. I like that. That's okay.
Yeah.
We'll play for dollars.
Yes, exactly. How do you like this root beer, man? The Eli's.
The Eli's is really good. I got to be honest with you. It's a fantastic root beer.
I'm not necessarily a root beer guy myself, but
yeah,
this actually does have a nice taste to it.
It does. It almost feels like, although I checked the ingredients, it almost feels like it's got a little extra ginger or something in it that gives it a really nice taste.
Yeah, truly does. Yeah, and so, man, I want to jump into it. We ask every guest to add a special ingredient to the lobster roll. Tell me about what you decided to put on the lobster roll today.
So on my lobster roll, I am a huge fan of Dave's Insanity hot sauce.
He had to do that.
I'm already sweating.
Yeah. And I like to mix it with some ranch, mayo, fresh parsley, lemon, and Dave's Insanity hot sauce, and it makes this absolutely incredible sauce that is delicious. So I can't wait to try it on my lobster roll.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I got to be honest. I think the guys, just to watch my reaction and mess with me, added a little too much Dave's Insanity.
They did?
Yeah. So if I have to walk off set for a minute, Alec might take the helm. I'm a little nervous about it.
Let me see the color. I can always tell you by the color. Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine.
That's what he says. That's what he says. How's it taste, man? Alec's already in it.
I really like it.
Let's try it out.
I think, again, with the ranch and the mayo, does he? But I am starting to sweat already a little bit, so, you know. I think it really goes well, though.
The lobster's really good. Oh, the lobster's fantastic.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I like it. I think I just inhaled some of the insanity. And the back of my throat right now, it's definitely a little bit. Alex already, you probably can't see it on camera. Alex already sweating next to me.
He's sweating?
Yeah.
I made it pretty much, so I did it to myself. So
he's into the root beer already.
He is, exactly.
it's already almost gone, unfortunately. So
It's tasty, man. Well, Faisel, man, like I said, I'm so grateful to have you on the show today. You've been in the music industry for over 25 years, and I have more questions that I'm probably going to be able to ask today, but I'd love to just start with going back to when you were younger. What did you have a dream to work in the music industry, or did that happen, just randomly as you were, going through school? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah. I finished my undergraduate degree and I was on my way to law school, and I finished writing my LSATs, and I asked my dad if I could have a deferral for a year. I had met some friends in college who were from Singapore, and I asked him if I could go travel through Southeast Asia and defer my entrance into law school. He begrudgingly agreed, and I went off to Southeast Asia and was having a great time with my friends. Singapore is an incredible country where we spent a lot of time. And I called him 3 months later to tell him I was out of money. And if I could get some more money. He, of course, said no.
Yeah.
You can now come home. So I came home, and I had no money. And he said to me, before you have 7 months left before you go to law school, I don't care what you do, but you got to go work.
Yeah.
And I remember I was at my friend's house that night, and we were sitting around playing cards. And I told him about the conversation my father had. And as it happens, his older brother was the supervisor at the warehouse for a record company called A&M Records.
Okay.
Which was literally a 15-minute bike ride from where I lived. And he said, hey, if you want a job for a few months, come by the warehouse. I'll give you a job picking orders. I had no idea what a record company did. I'd never had a desire or a passion to want to work in the music business. I wanted to be an attorney, and I wanted to litigate.
Was your father an attorney too? Is that where the inspiration for that came from?
No, my father was in the airline business. So I was born in Pakistan, and he moved to Canada when I was 10 years old to open up Pakistan International Airlines in Canada.
Oh, wow.
But I always have enjoyed I've always enjoyed competition. And the only profession I could think of, that would allow me the thrill of competition on a daily basis with a true, you either win or you lose, was to be a litigator.
Yeah.
And that was what was really driving me towards wanting to go into law.
Wow.
And that was it. I took a job in the warehouse. I got a promotion 2 months later to the mailroom. And I took the job because I thought it'd be nice to go through the office and say hi to all the girls. And I took the job delivering mail, and I ended up befriending the president of the company. Quite frankly, he had the cutest assistant. And I was spending a lot of time at her desk. And I ended up befriending him, and he turned out to be really my second father and my real mentor.
Wow.
And he was the one, his name was Joe Summers, who truly convinced me that I should take a run at the music business.
Wow. So indirectly, you were chasing a girl, and you just happened to build this relationship with this guy. Was that, you said A&M Records?
Mm-hmm.
A&M Records. And so during the time in the warehouse to the mailroom, you said prior to working there, you didn't really know much about the music industry at all. Did you start to, gain knowledge of how things worked while you were in those positions?
Yeah, he, again, as I said to you, he mentored me. So he gave me 6 different jobs over 6 years. His desire was for me to learn all facets of the label business.
Yeah.
And I learned everything from running records up to the DJs in the clubs to, at that time, getting your videos played on, the MTVs of the world, and
yeah,
getting your records played on radio, and getting your records in the stores, and price and position. And he really took me around and gave me 6 jobs over 6 years to learn all the different facets of the business. And eventually made me the head of marketing for A&M Island and Motown Records in Canada.
Oh, wow. So what artists back then were you working with when you were in the marketing position?
There was a time of consolidation. So at that time, there were all these great independents in the world built by Mavericks. And a company called Polygram was buying them up. So A&M Island and Motown were one company in Canada. It had all been bought by the same entity. And I had, at that time, the fortune of working with, great Island Records artists like U2 and wow. great A&M Records artists like Bryan Adams.
Wow.
And it was a fabulous time to really learn the business and to really recognize what it takes to be a great artist in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And so from A&M, what at that point did you decide to put the law school aside and continue to work in the music business? And what happened? Where'd you go after A&M?
Yeah, so I was having a fabulous time. And I was really learning the business.
Out of all the jobs you did, the 6 that you did, I know you went into marketing. Was that your favorite year or job that you had, or did you like one specific thing more than the rest over the 6 years?
Alec, if you remember, I had a thirst for competition. And so, marketing itself is not a daily competition. It's a long-term haul to build brands. The one job that I really enjoyed was radio, because you were either going to win and get your records played on the radio, or you weren't going to win and somebody else was going to get their records played on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
So I would say for my competitive DNA, the radio gig was probably the best that fit me. But for me to grow, I had to learn how to take all the things I had learned from radio and retail and everything else that we did and apply it against a greater vision called marketing.
Yeah. Was that radio gig? Was that you were trying to win over relationships with program directors to place the songs on their stations?
That's exactly it. Yes.
Yeah.
And every week radio stations decide what is added to their playlist and what is dropped from their playlist.
Yeah.
And you're in competition with every other record company across, hundreds of radio stations to get your records added and to not get them dropped.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, it's a great competitive marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you felt this weight on your shoulders because you were representing these artists, and obviously they need to deliver a great song, but then it was in your hands to get the songs on the radio and to get as many plays as you can a week.
Yeah, it's funny now that you say that. You think about it and you say, yes, that is a weight that you carry of these artists that make a great art and really then pass it on to you to say, now please make it successful.
Yeah.
And that is a large responsibility. At the time you're doing it, you don't really think about it,
I'm sure.
It's like, when Michael was playing, I don't know if he really was thinking about six rings and, you know, what it all meant and how he was going to go down as the GOAT. And you're playing the game, and you're just playing the game to win. And at that time, that's all it was you were living on a week to week basis, trying to win that week.
Yeah.
I gotta imagine being in an argument with you is unwinnable, essentially.
Yeah, that is fair. Actually, I can attest to that. I've been there. I made the mistake of playing golf with Faisel, and first, you know, the front nine, I was talking the whole time, and he was quiet. He was very kind with me until the score just started to take a turn, and now it's just been these subtle hits every time.
Yeah, it's definitely drives my wife crazy, but yeah, you know, debating is definitely something I very much enjoy. So I like it.
Is there such thing as like a peaceful trip to the bowling alley with you and your wife?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Listen, you also learn. You know, that you have to separate church and state.
Very true.
And
those are wise words right there.
What you do at work and who you are in the office has no relevance when you come home, and that's not who you are when you come home. And I have to be a great husband, and I have to be a great brother, and a great son, and a great father, and all those things, and none of those people care about what I do for a living or what my title is when I go to work.
Yeah, I love that. So you worked those 6 positions at A&M, and then did you feel like you kind of reached your peak performance there and it was time to move on? And where did you end up going after A&M?
So as I was the head of marketing. Ooh, I just caught a bite of that Dave's Insanity. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, man. I've been trying to keep it cool. My hands are sweating.
I was at a corporate international marketing conference with 42 other heads of marketing of companies from around the world. And it was a 3-day conference, and at the end of the conference, you had to make a presentation to the number 1 person worldwide for the company, who's a gentleman named David Munns. And when I did my presentation, he pulled me aside and said, "You know, I think you're wasting your time living in Canada and focusing on the 4% of the business. And I want you to move to New York and learn the other 96% of the business."
Oh, wow. And so what did that move entail?
He wanted me to learn the global marketplace. So I was literally transferred a few weeks later to New York by Polygram Records and given a job in the international marketing division, which is really about taking artists that are signed in America and figuring out how to market and exploit them overseas.
Okay.
Has the international marketplace, you being born internationally, wanting to obviously spend time abroad before you worked and stuff, I'm assuming the international marketplace has been a really big focus for you personally?
I think that's fair. I think I've had the fortune, obviously, of not being born in this country, seeing things, understanding that the world is a very big place, and that you know, other cultures have great value and significance, and I'm completely fascinated by not so much this country, but really us together as one people across the entire globe. And so I did very well, much enjoy that position. I enjoyed learning about other cultures. I enjoyed learning about the nuances of how to break a record in France versus trying to break a record in England, trying to break a record in Japan, versus trying to break a record in America. They all have their nuances, and culture is certainly a big part of it that I have a great respect for.
Some juicy stuff you're hearing, I know, and we'll get right back to it. But I want to let you guys know, he's laughing, but I want to let you guys know, we have a Patreon, and if you want to see more juicy stuff, more footage that is not in this episode, if you hit this link right here, you can go to the Patreon, you can see that stuff. We have exclusive giveaways from Get Maine Lobster, Shipyard Beer. You can see everything that you cannot see in this episode that we're actually not allowed to load up on YouTube. If you click this link right here, join our group, you're going to get special offers, hangouts with us in the LMB studio, have a beer with us. You can even join our weekly Zoom calls where we edit these episodes. So once again, this Patreon right here. Now, back to the episode. During that time, what was some of your favorite music that you were listening to, that you grew up to as well?
Well, during that time, one of the things that happened was Polygram bought 50% of a company called Def Jam Recordings.
Yeah.
And, this was really only 12 or 13 years after Def Jam was created.
Oh, wow.
And in the mid to late 90s, hip hop and its culture was starting to take over America.
Yeah.
But we didn't believe it, America was still hoping it was a fad.
Yeah.
That it would go away. And the rest of the world couldn't understand it at all. And really was hoping it would go away.
Oh, yeah.
And I learned to really love and respect what hip hop really meant, the art of it, what the culture meant, and how important a movement it really was, not a genre of music, but really a movement it was for, Black America and its influence, not only in America, but the rest of the world when it came to the art.
Absolutely.
So I really, at that time and still today, am a big hip hop head and love the art of it.
I love that. Who are some of your favorite hip hop artists?
Well, I've had the fortune of working with Jay-Z for a very long time.
Wow. What was that like?
He's a very special person.
Yeah.
He's one of the very few people I've met in my life whose left side of the brain is running on 12 and his right side of the brain is running on 12. And
he's working.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually we find people who are great creatively, but might not be great at business, or we find people who are great at business but might not be great at creative. And he both sides of his brain completely over deliver.
That's
and
incredible.
I've never, yeah.
How'd you start working with him? How did that come about?
Well, Jay, as you know, was signed to Def Jam Records.
Yeah.
And, I was given the responsibility of marketing Def Jam and all of its artists to the global marketplace. So that's how I got to know him. I was completely intrigued, fascinated by not only him as an artist, but really as a person.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the greatest gentlemen I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
And I think one of the greatest artists I've ever met in my life, and one of the greatest businessmen I've ever met in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are strong words.
That's
right
cheers
there.
to Hove.
Yeah, cheers to Hove right there.
Oh, and also cheers to Faisel. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, seriously, man. That's crazy. That blows my mind. I obviously grew up listening to Jay-Z, one of my biggest inspirations in music. And you're right, just to watch his not only trajectory as an artist, but as a businessman and just overall a mogul, I think is fair to say. Jay-Z is a mogul.
At the minimum, I think.
But I mean, do you have any particular stories from working with him that you could share with us? That, I mean, I'm a huge fan, so this to me right now, I'm glad we're eating lobster, drinking a beer, and hanging with you and talking about Jay-Z, because this is pretty mind blowing right now.
Listen, there's not a lot of stories I can share with you, because what happens in the workplace stays in the workplace.
True.
But I will tell you that he has an incredible intuition to always know what's right, regardless of whether he's picking the beat or he's picking the design of the champagne bottle, or he's picking the hoodie he's going to wear, or he's going to pick the hotel he's going to stay at. He just, his intuition is always right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can ever really teach that to anybody. I think that's a gift. And he has that gift.
That's incredible. So did that relationship with him lead into working with Beyonce?
Yeah, so when I left the label business, I went to join a company at that time called Clear Channel Entertainment.
Yeah.
And Clear Channel Entertainment is the foundation of the spinoff that became Live Nation.
Yeah.
And when Jay left, when Jay's contract was over at Live Nation, I was instrumental in signing him there. And also in not only signing him as an artist, but signing him as an entrepreneur, as Sean Carter. And the first business we built together, started together, was Roc Nation.
Oh, wow. So you guys started that together.
Well, I mean, I was working at Live Nation.
Yeah.
So Live Nation and Jay-Z started that together, and that's why it's called Roc Nation. And yeah, I sat on the board, and obviously I'm a big believer in him as an artist, but I'm also a big believer in him as an entrepreneur. So I was very fortunate to build a relationship with him and the rest of his team as they went out. Not only did we do all of his touring and all the other things that Live Nation does with him, but I was very fortunate to work with him to start Roc Nation.
Wow, that's incredible. And so then from Live Nation to Roc Nation, where'd you transition after that?
From there, I left to go run Parkwood Entertainment, which is Beyonce's management company.
Yeah.
That I felt like I had learned, what I needed to learn in the label business, and learned what I needed to learn in the brand business, and what I needed to learn in the live touring business. And really, I wanted to find an outlet to apply all of those skill sets, because as you probably know, in the music business, if you work in the label business, you're not working in the live business. If you're working in the live business, you're not working in the label business.
Yeah.
If you're working in the merch business, you're not working in, everybody has their lanes, and you have to, you stay in your lanes to run the business, that part of the business, vertical in the business that you run. So I felt like I'd learned enough that I wanted to apply it to management.
Yeah.
And had a great opportunity to go run Parkwood for Beyonce, and I left there to go and do that.
Was there a moment for you before you left for Parkwood? Was there a specific moment that you can recall that you realized that, okay, I feel like I've gained the knowledge I can here, and I've reached a certain level, and it's time to shift? Because there's also, and you can speak on this, there's a leap of faith there as well too, right? Changing avenues.
There is a leap of faith, and you have to believe in yourself, and it all depends on who you are as a person. I've always been a person not doing things for money, but doing things for knowledge.
I love that.
And I didn't really see, there was nothing else for me to learn in the live touring business. I had toured the greatest artists, including Jay-Z, around the world.
Yeah.
And now it was more just plug and play. You had your playbook and you ran plays.
Yeah.
But it was difficult to write new plays into the playbook.
Of course.
And does that old playbook, I mean, when you first started out, more or less, especially now in this day and age, are they similar, or are they different?
Yeah, Alec, I would say, the live business is certainly, it's progressed, and it's had, I'm going to call it an evolution as opposed to a new playbook. Mm-hmm. It's having an evolution. The evolution is, and it's 10%, 15%. And that's evolution for a business that's been around for 100 years.
Yeah.
But once you've kind of done it, again, it's a great business. If you want to stay in it and do it, you should do it. I used to, Chris Blackwell, who's the founder and amazing maverick of Island Records. I was with him one day, and he was in Miami. He had built an incredible hotel there called the Tides. Yeah. And I remember Chris telling me one day that he was going to sell the Tides, which had not been open for that long, but was booming business on Ocean Drive. And I said to him, I don't understand. I've watched you put your heart and soul into building this property and making it so successful. Why would you sell it? Yeah. And he said, yeah, my work is done here. Now they don't call me. Now they call me about whether the bed sheets are clean and the mini bars are full. That's not really what I do. Yeah. My work is done. And so I feel that way, that for me, at some point, I feel like my work is done and it's time to move on and learn something else in life, and try and be, great at something else in life.
I love that. So you went from Def Jam to Parkwood, and then did you go back to Def Jam for a short stint?
I did, yes. I went back for another 2.5 years. With a gentleman named Steve Bartles, who was the CEO at the time. And the company had just been split between Def Jam and Island Records. And it was a company that obviously has a great place in my heart, and is a big part of my history. And the thought of going back and having a very prominent position inside of that company that I felt was on the verge of possibly going extinct. Yeah. Was a responsibility and a challenge that I couldn't resist. Although if you ever ask me to go into the label business again, I'll literally hang up the phone.
All right, can't cancel those questions. Yeah. So one of my favorite parts that I want to touch on before we move on there is one of the best, who I believe is one of the best hip hop artists in the past 5 to 7 years is Logic. And he was starting at Def Jam around the time that you went back there. What was it like working with him? In what capacity did you work with him? And yeah, I'm excited to hear about this.
I mean, he was obviously one of the 52 artists that were signed to Def Jam. To be perfectly honest, I didn't know much about him as an artist when I went there. I met his manager, Chris Zaru, who was, at that time, 23, 24 years old. I really found Chris to be quite fascinating. And I thought that he had some great, outlook on the business and how to build and what to do. And, a lot of veterans of the music business don't give 23 and 24-year-olds the respect that they deserve.
Yeah.
And I respected Chris. I respected Logic. They taught me a lot. We helped each other. They were open to my ideas. I was completely open to their ideas, and we went on a journey together. And it was very un-Def Jam, in all honesty. And
why do you say that?
He had an audience that was not what people would consider the typical, at that time, hip-hop heads. Yeah. Yeah. His audience was white, it was young, and it was suburban, and they were all a little not the cool kids.
Yeah, I love that.
It was me growing up.
Yeah.
And he spoke to them, and he was a great inspiration for them. But that isn't the audience that we at Def Jam were used to taking. The Jay-Z's and the Kanye Wests and the 2 Chainz and the Young Jeezys of the world. That's not what we did for a living. That wasn't the audience that we knew. And so for me, it was a great journey into understanding who he was, really how he over-delivered to his audience, how he collected them one at a time. I learned a lot from him and Chris. And I think that it was my openness as an executive to really learn from them that allowed us to have a very healthy relationship. And really, we all saw the fruits of what that.
What's up, guys? As always, thank you for watching. I promise we will get back to the episode right away. But I want to let you know about something special that we are doing. Here at L&B, mental health is very important to us. So we have collaborated with today's guest to create a t-shirt based around subjects that we've talked about in today's episode and stuff that means a lot in their lives. And we put it into the t-shirt in a design, and we're selling it right here at this link. If you go to this link, you buy the t-shirt, 100% of the profits for the next month will go to a mental health organization. So right here, this link, go get that t-shirt. Now back to the episode. That moment you must have had that, Def Jam, you kind of reached an ending point at Def Jam and you decided to transition out of the music industry. Was there a certain moment that you had that realization, or was that something that you thought about over time?
No, really in the last 6 to 12 months there, you started to feel that I wasn't right for them and they weren't right for me.
Yeah.
And that we were playing 2 very different games. And it just wasn't the right fit for me anymore. Spending my time managing upwards wasn't really what I wanted to spend my time doing. And I enjoyed being with artists. I enjoyed supporting great young entrepreneurs that came along. And, the idea of what was right for those artists versus what was right for corporate don't always line up.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's life. And, you have to make a choice on which side to err. And I wanted to err on the side of the artist.
I love that. I have to ask before we move on to what came after this, was there any point during this journey that your father ever confronted you about not going back to law school?
Yeah. My father wanted me to go back to law school the whole time. He thought I was just in the sex, drugs, and rock and roll business. I come from a very traditional South Asian Muslim family. Kids are not brought up to go work with rock stars.
Yeah.
And he wanted me to, like every other South Asian kid, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be a something. And he pushed me hard. He came to visit me once in New York, and we had a great heart-to-heart. He saw where I was living. I literally had to show him my paycheck.
He understood.
Here you go, Dad.
And I had to show him my bank account to say, this isn't me having fun. This is a real business. And it's a business that I'm being successful at. And I think when he saw that, he realized that I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And, as a father, when you realize that your kid's going to be okay, then you feel like that responsibility is that you own for your children, you feel better about. So
absolutely,
he definitely pushed me, but we had a moment where he realized, and it wasn't easy for him, that this is a real business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business in the world, and that I was being successful at.
Yeah. So I didn't have the apartment or house to show my mother, but it was, for years. I left college after a year, and I told my family, I was like, I'm in love with music. I want to pursue music. It's my passion. It's where my heart is. And for years, my mom, she's from South Boston, so she got that South Boston accent. She was like, Brian, you need to go back to college. If you don't finish college, you're not going to, and that's the generation she grew up in. But it wasn't until, which meant nothing to me, but it wasn't until I signed my first deal and she could show her friends online, scroll through a record label roster and see a Blake Shelton and a Kelly Clarkson, then show her son's face, that finally, because of that, which, accolades don't really mean anything to me, but for my mom to see that and show that to her friends, it was that moment where it was like, okay, I'm going to let go. I'm not going to push you to... And she saw the for me, and it was the love and the passion, and that the work, and I think you can relate, is that, you weren't even necessarily looking to get into this business. You kind of fell in it when you jumped in the warehouse, and then you grew a desire to learn more and grow in that. And I think it's safe to say that your father saw that no matter what you got into, you were going to be successful because you had that entrepreneurial mentality.
I think that's right, Brian. I being a parent myself today, this responsibility of making sure your kids are okay, it's the biggest responsibility you'll ever take on in life. Yeah. So, your mom worried about you, and why is she telling you to go back to school? Not because the school is the end all be all, but because she knows that there's a security that comes with that.
Yes.
Yeah. And so she's really just saying, hey, I want to make sure you're okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And I admire her for that. Yeah. Because
absolutely,
that's a great mother, right?
Couldn't agree more.
The thing I say about my dad, he's a great father. He cared about his son.
Yeah.
And wanted to make sure that I was going to be okay. And, many people, Brian, don't have the luxury of that, that desire, that responsibility that comes of being a parent. So I'll say that, you and I are very fortunate.
Very fortunate.
To have parents like that.
very, very fortunate. I love you, Mom, by the way. I know Alec wants to say something, but Mom's going to watch this. I love you, Mom.
Well, I was going to say, do you find yourself kind of, now as you being a parent, do you find yourself kind of having the similarities with your father and how you raised them, or have you adjusted a little bit?
Yeah, Alec, that's a great question. You know, I have more than my parents had. So first of all, the rules change. Yeah, my children aren't blind. They can see where we live. They can, you know, and by the way, I wasn't blind. I could see where we lived and what we had. So, you know, my mother yells at me all the time that I'm spoiling my children. And I say to her, you know, she says, I never gave you that. I never gave you those. I never did that. And I say to her, you never gave it to me because you couldn't. Yeah, and not that that's a bad thing, and I didn't ask for them because I knew you didn't have it. But, you know, my children aren't blind. They can see what we have. And if I say no to them, I'm just being an asshole.
So you're a great dad. You're the kind of dad. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, you teach them respect. You teach them what's right and wrong. I don't think depriving them is teaching them a lesson. Are the rules different? Well, the rules are just different because of the financial position we're in versus what my parents were in. And yes, I think we all have to learn this, you know, the new stresses that they have that we never had.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't know how to deal with TikTok, and I don't know how everybody has a fabulous life on Instagram and the pressure that comes with that. And, you know, they're gamers and spending the 6 hours a day playing Fortnite. You know, that wasn't something that we did. But it's all very different. I'm open to it all. There is some foundational things that I learned from my parents. And certainly respect is one of them. So that won't change. The rest of it, you got to write a new playbook every generation for how to parent.
Yeah, I love that, but it just sounds like the basis of it all is love, and family's first for you more than anything.
Yeah, listen, they got to be happy, and they got to have self-esteem, and then they got to be happy.
And like you said, going back to the playbook and stuff, it's really like, an evolution. Again, you took what you saw from your parents and stuff, and then you took, and some people I feel like really miss that. So it's really nice to be able to take what they have and evolve it to the times and stuff. And I think that's the best for the kids.
Yeah. Would you say are they at the age now where they you know, kind of recognize, you know, where you've been, what you've done, and they look up to you in a sense?
You know, my wife and I, and she's in the, in the education field. She couldn't care less about any of this.
Yeah, I love that.
Entertainment stuff. We really went out of our way to not tell our children and not expose them to daddy's life. Yeah. I never wanted anybody to like them because of what I did.
I love that.
Absolutely. And I want people, I want them to have friends for who they are and not who their father is, and who is their father may or may not have access to. So they know, but they know not to talk about it.
And that's more relevant now than ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. My daughter knows if I take her to a concert and we go backstage and we hang out with artists, she's not allowed to post a thing.
Yeah.
And she's not even allowed to go to school the next day and tell friends what she did the night before.
Oh, man. That's so cool, though, for her. And she actually knows not to do that, which is even more badass.
Well,
She's
she
probably
can.
gonna be.
She ain't going to another concert after that.
Yeah, so she knows she's playing it smart.
She's gonna know the industry though. She's gonna know exactly how to carry
Absolutely.
herself. So
Yeah.
she's probably gonna be a whatever she does, a dynamo in that too.
Yeah, see, I didn't have that access as a younger kid, but what I was good at was sneaking into those positions and finding my way backstage, and then
Carry yourself.
rolling with the punches at that point, and then learning how to carry myself. But I agree, man. The accolades and awards, none of that stuff matters. I mean, I think there's something to say about the work ethic that gets you to that point. And some people have the same or a more of a work ethic, and they never reach any sort of accolades of like that at all. But more importantly, it's just building the foundation of love, and being a person with character. And I think that's what I'm hearing you speak of as a father. It has nothing to do with what you've accomplished in your life. It's more of like, I present myself this way because I'm first and foremost, someone who has worked very hard, but I have a big heart, and I want everyone around me to love and be happy and support each other.
That's 100% right. And you have to be humble, man. Yeah. There's a blessing for everything that I have been able to achieve and what I have. These are blessings. This is not what was owed me.
Yeah.
And whatever I have been able to achieve, yes, I've learned a lot of things along the way, but those were also blessings. Yeah. So I don't want to be arrogant about any of it. Like these are all gifts that we're given. You better learn to be humble in life. And this is very difficult to teach people in the music business.
Yeah. Very true.
But I'm very humble. I want my children to be humble. I want them to understand that whatever they are able to achieve, that they have to thank God, Allah, for the blessings that He gives. And none of this is owed to you.
At all. I think that's so important for young artists watching, anyone, young entrepreneurs watching, that there's a sense of entitlement sometimes when it comes, especially the music business. And I personally can say that in the beginning of my career, there was an ego and this level that I felt like I needed to put myself on. And these days, man, what makes me the happiest is to just sit back and just say, I'm grateful to breathe. I'm grateful to wake up this morning. You said something, your kids aren't, I'm grateful to be able to see and just have these beautiful people around me. And for you, like, the hitting the golf course with you and building a relationship with you, it's never been about the accolades for me. It's like, man, this dude's a fucking great guy. And that's what I want to surround myself with, is people who I can be myself first and foremost, and they accept me for who I am, which I think is one of the most important things these days that kids struggle with because of the TikToks and the Instagrams, because there's this image that's created behind many lenses and many filters. And one of the most important things today that kids need to hear is it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to have a crooked smile. It's okay to love the things that 90% of the people don't love online. If that's true to your heart and it feels good to you, run with that shit. Like, that is so important.
It's really lost again, and the two things we just touched on is, like, again, humility and love is really lost in this current day and age in social media, and that is, again, the foundation of everything. Those two things.
Yeah, they are. Before we go, man, I know you only have a little bit more time. Tell us what you're working on now and what you're excited about.
Well, listen, it's interesting when we're talking about golf. So really, after I finished at Def Jam Recordings, I took a couple of years really to reintroduce myself to my wife and my children. And I had an incredible time. And during that time, I also learned that I wanted to play my back nine differently than I played the front nine. And
I love that.
That I wanted not to work in large corporations and, do the whole politics inside of large corporations and make a 10% difference if you're great at what you do. And that I really have always had this entrepreneurial spirit in me, which I've tried to bring to large corporations, but that really I wanted to now, for the back nine, take the opportunity to really let out this entrepreneurial spirit inside of me.
What has that led to?
So it really led to a company I came across, three founders who were in their 20s, classic Ivy League grads, went to work at the McKinseys of the world, realized that's not what they wanted to do in life.
Yeah.
They came to me with an idea. The idea was they had a tech solution against a problem that existed in the market, which was the VIP meet and greet that we traditionally do at concerts. Has a much greater demand than it does supply.
Yeah.
Because of the limitations of obviously doing this in the physical space and only doing it when you do concerts. So they came to me with a solution to digitize that product line so that it could start to satisfy the supply that existed out there, or the demand, that existed out there. I didn't love their idea. I didn't think it was scalable. But I really loved them. And I decided to bet on the jockey as opposed to the horse.
Yeah.
So I went on a journey with them. They had this incredible tech that started to get some traction. We added some new features, obviously live streaming and, a few other things that we did. And suddenly the business took off. I recently took over as a co-CEO of the company. And I am absolutely now convinced that this technology of what we're creating, which is hopefully the world's greatest virtual venue, that will allow people to host their events in a way that they couldn't before, is really what's driven me now to Looped. It excites me every day. I can't wait to get up in the morning to get to work.
Ah, that's awesome, man. That's exciting.
And I think it's a great opportunity, and I think it's solving a great problem. It was only a matter of time when physical events would also be disrupted by technology.
Yeah.
And that company is called Looper, correct?
Or is it Looped
Looper,
or Looper?
or Looped or Looper?
It's called Looped Live.
Looped.live or?
Yeah,
and I know
Looped loopelive.com.
Loopelive.com.
Looped live.com.
Loopelive.
And I know though we had briefly talked about it. So that's like a subscription that can turn into though like more of a subscription based thing for true fans to subscribe to certain artists or things like that. Correct?
It can. Really, what it is the ability for creators to create programming, which also includes events, to be able to sell directly to their audience. Yeah. So we went through an era of social media where all you could do was collect your fans. You couldn't monetize them. You could just collect them. And they were monetized, by the way, by the platform. They weren't monetized by the creators. And then we started to see some things open up. YouTube started to pay 0.000003 cents for a view that you got.
Oh yeah.
But at least people felt good because you were making something.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you really think about it, I believe that the next evolution of all of this will be you have an audience, they're your audience, and you should be able to sell them things directly, as opposed to a distribution model for your content that you're paid pennies.
Yeah.
Based on advertising.
Absolutely.
And that's what Loop Live is out doing, and that's what is the solution that we are solving for. That you two guys, when you get big, you should sell your content directly to your fans for $1.
Yeah.
I don't understand why wouldn't you? Why would you put it on YouTube for free?
Last call.
Oh, all right, man. Faisel, apparently they're kicking us out of this place.
Okay, this is great. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you.
It was incredible, man. Before we go, I got one more question for you.
Yes.
If an autobiography was written about your life today, what would the title be?
Why not me?
Why not me? Yeah.
I love that, man. Well, dude, thank you so much for joining us on Lobster and a Beer. Ladies and gentlemen, Faisel Durrani, absolute legend, just incredible person. We love you, man.
Love you too. Thank you so much for having me on. Hey, this is Faisel, and you're watching The Great Ones on the Lobster and Beer TV.
Hey guys, I know we got kicked out of the bar. They called last call, but we're back. And I just want to let you know we appreciate you guys so much. Our fan base means everything to us. So if you can, hit the like button, subscribe right here, and hit us up on Instagram, socials, everything. Lobster and Beer TV. We love you. We will see you on the next episode. Peace!